Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tuesday edition of Video Clips, which is brought to you by Wellness Forum Health and the Wellness Forum Institute for Health Studies. Just a couple of quick announcements. Optimal Life and Health with Pam Part 1 is this weekend. It's scheduled for November 15th and 16th. It's a Friday night, Saturday, all day. And we're going to talk about how to stay happy, centered, and productive, regardless of what's going on out there. Get in the best shape ever for winter. I mean, I've never understood why we wait till spring and get in shape for summer. How about getting in shape and staying in shape for winter so that you don't have to do it all over again? You know what I mean? Permanent habit change, time management, how to get it all done, shopping, cooking, meal planning tips, and on and on. The supplement debate, information about sleep, and some of this intermittent fasting stuff that's recommended. So we're going to talk about a wide variety of things, and as usual, lots of time for questions. I want to mention also that some of you are homeschoolers and you homeschool your teenagers, and they can attend this free with you. And I have a workbook for them to complete so that they can use it for homeschool credit if that is of interest to you. And we don't charge for that at all. That's free. And then part 2, Healthy Aging, is December 6th and 7th if you want to mark your calendar for that. Also, make sure to order holiday cookies soon. These are delicious chocolate coconut cookies, individually wrapped, sent with a gift card in a nice box, and we can send them any place in the continental United States for $29.95 per dozen. So the sooner you order, the sooner they get there, and the less likely they are to be delayed due to holiday postal delays, right? So I have just one news item today, and it's an important one. It has to do with the antiviral drug Tamiflu. And the reason I want to talk about it is that I've received several emails recently asking if people should have this drug on hand in preparation for flu season. The short answer is no, and I'm going to give you the long answer it's worth knowing about, so you'll be fully informed about this drug and make some good decisions about where you get advice. It's being included in some wellness kits and that sort of thing, which is why I felt I should say something about it. So, as a prelude to talking about Tamiflu specifically, I just want to say this. I've never dreaded flu season or thought that any preparation was necessary at all. Instead, for the last few decades, I've focused on staying healthy all year, and as a result, I rarely get sick. I have had the flu 3 times during the last 3 decades, and in all 3 instances, the major cause was being run down due to stress. And after I got sick, I was sick for a couple, 3 days, and then recovered and went back to work, and it was just over. And I'm not doing anything to prepare for flu season this year either. I continue to eat well and hydrate and exercise, sleep a little bit more lately after some of my life has settled down from recent upheaval. And I keep my psychological state in pretty good shape, staying positive. I don't need to do anything else. I also think it's important to state that as soon as you start talking about, let's get ready for flu season, it just plants the idea in your mind that bad things might be coming. I'm just saying, right? You have to decide what you want to do. But for those of you who are into preparing and looking at various kits on the market, some of which include Tamiflu, here are some data that you should know. Now, first, I learned a lot about Tamiflu when I was asked to deliver a talk at a conference in Denmark several years ago, and Tom Jefferson, formerly with Cochrane Collaboration, delivered a talk about misbehavior on behalf of Roche, the manufacturer of the drug, in reference to the drug. The story started when what turned out to be the fake H1N1 epidemic was predicted in 2009, and the UK and Australian governments commissioned Cochrane to update its existing review of antiviral drugs, including Tamiflu. The existing Cochrane review at the time, which had concluded that Tamiflu reduced the risk of secondary complications like pneumonia and hospitalizations, was based on an analysis of 10 manufacturer-funded trials, 8 of which were never published. The analysis itself was authored by researchers who worked for the drug maker Roche. So in order to conduct a real review, the Cochrane Group needed to see the unpublished trial data, but faced a whole lot of resistance in obtaining it from Roche. As it turned out, none of the authors of the previously published studies had seen the original data, but instead had reported what Roche had given them with no verification whatsoever. When Jefferson asked Roche to provide the data to his group, the company offered to do so only if he and the others would sign a confidentiality agreement, which of course would negate the reason for even doing this review. A decade after Roche completed phase 3 clinical trials of the drug, the data remained unpublished and unavailable. Due to public pressure brought by an open data campaign conducted by the British Medical Journal, in 2009, Roche publicly agreed in a BMJ article to provide the data to the Cochrane reviewers. In spite of this public pronouncement, Jefferson and his group continued to be denied access to the information they requested. By 2012, the campaign was still ongoing, and several letters between Cochrane and Roche and the World Health Organization and other institutions which either manufactured and or promoted the drugs were posted on the bmj.com site. 4 years after Roche promised to deliver the data, the Cochrane reviewers finally received the clinical study reports for 107 studies from the European Medicines Agency, GSK, and Roche, 150,000 pages of data. Analysis published a few months later showed that there was no evidence that Tamiflu reduced complications of flu, but the analysis did identify some new concerns about potential harms from the drug. So I'm just going to summarize. I mean, the whole story is so long and there's so many twists and turns, but I think the bottom line is, what is this drug? Does it work? And what are the side effects? Well, here is what was eventually discovered through correspondence with Roche and various organizations. First, the World Health Organization started recommending Tamiflu without ever reviewing any data at all. Not surprising to those of you who listen to me, but shocking still that this could happen. The European Medicines Agency approved Tamiflu and had never reviewed the original underlying data either. In other words, everybody was just relying on what Roche said about their own drug. The Centers for Disease Control here in the United States was recommending the use of Tamiflu and encouraging the US government to stockpile it without ever reviewing any underlying data either. Even worse, the CDC was promoting the drug even though the FDA required Roche to add this statement to the label in 2000. Quote, serious bacterial infections may begin with influenza-like symptoms or may coexist with or occur as complications during the course of influenza. Tamiflu has not been shown to prevent such complications. While no adverse events to Tamiflu were included in the published trials, post-marketing surveillance showed that complications from the drug are serious, and they include 1, listen to this list, increased liver enzymes, 2, hepatitis, neuropsychiatric events, cardiac arrhythmias, skin hypersensitivity, including toxic epidermal necrolysis, which is a life-threatening condition that involves the peeling of the skin away from the body, Stevens-Johnson syndrome, a serious disorder of the mucous membranes in skin, and renal events. The most concerning side effects by far were neuropsychiatric events, which included depressed mood, panic attack, suicidal ideation, delusion, delirium, convulsion, encephalitis. These were reported more frequently in children than adults and started to occur 48 hours after beginning to take the drug. There were 12 deaths of children reported in the adverse events database. As for the World Health Organization, a BMJ investigation revealed that the scientists who advised the WHO on pandemics and related issues had been on the payroll for companies that make antiviral drugs, including Tamiflu. The World Health Organization, of course, had not disclosed this conflict of interest to the public. Cochrane twice recommended complete removal of the drug from the WHO list, but this hasn't happened. And believe it or not, the World Health Organization has included Tamiflu in its 2024 guidelines for treatment for flu and recommends the drug for children and adults, in spite of the deaths in children and the very concerning neuropsychiatric events. The CDC here in the United States also continues to recommend Tamiflu in spite of the evidence. So where does this all stand now? Well, health authorities still promote Tamiflu. Roche places ads on television during flu season, making false claims about both the efficacy rate and the side effects of the drug. You now know the truth about this useless and harmful drug and hopefully won't be purchasing it or allowing it to be prescribed by anyone. There is an article, for those of you who are members, an article with some of these data that I wrote several years ago after that conference in Denmark is posted with references in our library. So you might want to go there to read it. And it's pretty easy to find out the side effects of the drug just by going online. I've reported a summary here. Just one more thing, or two more things, actually. Health professionals training fees will increase in 2025, so this is the time to talk to me about locking in your tuition rates. And also the truth about COVID vaccine injury. That's Wednesday, December 11th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. There's still time to register for that as well. So that's it for today. As usual, pass this on to anybody who you think would enjoy watching it, and I'll be back to you on Thursday with more news.